Have you ever noticed how some people don't just own a pet? They love them like a child, not in a cute, playful way, but in a deep, almost protective, sometimes emotional way that makes others quietly judge them. People joke about it. They roll their eyes. They say things like, "It's just an animal." But if you've ever been that person, the one who talks to their pet when no one's around, who worries about them like a parent, who feels a strange sense of peace just watching them sleep, then this isn't just about loving animals. There's something much deeper going on, and tonight I want to talk to you about that. Because the truth is, people don't treat their pets like their children by accident. They do it because something inside them learned, slowly, quietly, that love feels safer this way. Maybe you know exactly what I mean. You come home after a long day, emotionally drained, carrying things you didn't say out loud, and there they are. No judgment, no disappointment, no complicated expectations, just a presence that says, "I'm here, I'm happy, you're here too." And for a moment, your chest loosens, your breathing slows, the noise in your head finally softens. That moment, that's not weakness, that's survival. A lot of people who form deep emotional bonds with animals don't do it because they failed at connecting with humans. They do it because at some point, human connection hurt them in ways they never fully healed from. Maybe it was growing up in a house where emotions were dismissed, where love existed, but only when you behaved a certain way, where being too sensitive was something you were told to fix. Or maybe it was later in life, friendships that faded without explanation, relationships where you gave more than you received, people who promised safety but delivered uncertainty. Over time, something subtle happens inside you. You stop expecting to be fully understood. You stop trusting that your vulnerability will be handled gently. And then an animal enters your life. They don't analyze you. They don't misunderstand your silence. They don't punish you for having bad days. They simply exist with you. And for a nervous system that has spent years bracing itself, that kind of presence feels like home. Psychologically, this makes sense. The human brain is wired for connection. When connection with people becomes unpredictable or emotionally costly, the brain looks for safety elsewhere. Pets offer consistency. They respond with warmth instead of judgment. Their affection doesn't disappear because you were quiet, sad, or exhausted. And slowly, without realizing it, your brain learns. This is what safe love feels like. That's why people say things like, "My dog understands me better than anyone," or "My cat knows when I'm sad." It's not imagination, it's emotional attunement. Animals pick up on tone, energy, body language. They respond to presence, not performance. You don't have to be interesting, successful, or emotionally strong for them. You just have to exist. For someone who spent years feeling like they had to earn love, that's incredibly healing. But there's another layer people don't talk about much. For many, treating a pet like a child isn't about replacing something. It's about reclaiming something that was missing. Sometimes it's the chance to give the care they never received. Sometimes it's the safety they wished someone had given them. Sometimes it's the ability to love without fear of abandonment. When you care for a pet, you become the safe presence you once needed. You learn patience. You learn consistency. You learn how to show up every day, even when you're tired. And in doing that, something quietly powerful happens. You start reparenting parts of yourself. That's why the bond feels so deep. It's not just love, it's repair. And yet, people from the outside often misunderstand it. They see someone choosing a pet over social plans and assume loneliness. They see affection and assume immaturity. They don't see the emotional intelligence it takes to build a relationship based purely on trust, routine, and mutual comfort. They don't see the nights when that animal was the only reason you got out of bed. They don't see the moments when your pet grounded you during anxiety attacks or pulled you out of spirals without saying a word. There's a quiet kind of healing that happens when you're responsible for another living being who depends on you, not out of obligation, but out of love. And here's the part most people never say out loud. For many, loving a pet deeply is the first time they feel emotionally safe enough to love without fear. Because animals don't play psychological games. They don't punish vulnerability. They don't weaponize silence. So the nervous system relaxes, the heart opens, and slowly trust begins to rebuild, not just toward the animal, but toward life itself. This doesn't mean someone who loves their pet deeply doesn't want human connection. It means they're learning what healthy connection feels like. They're learning boundaries. They're learning consistency. They're learning that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. And when people criticize that bond, what they often miss is that for some, this is the bridge back to the world, not an escape from. There's also something profoundly grounding about caring for another being in a world that feels increasingly chaotic, feeding them, walking them, watching their routines. In a life full of uncertainty, pets bring rhythm, predictability, a sense of purpose that doesn't depend on success, status, or validation. You matter to someone every single day, no matter what kind of day you had, and that matters more than people realize. At some point, many people who love their pets deeply reach a quiet realization. They don't love their pet instead of people. They love their pet because that relationship taught them how love is supposed to feel: safe, consistent, and kind. That awareness changes how they show up in the world. They become more patient, more emotionally aware, less willing to tolerate relationships that drain them. They start choosing peace over chaos. And maybe that's the real reason this bond is so powerful. It's not about replacing humans. It's about remembering what healthy connection feels like. So if you're someone who talks to your pet like they understand every word, if you celebrate their birthdays, worry about their feelings, or feel a lump in your throat just thinking about losing them one day, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not too much. You're not lonely. You're not broken. You're someone who learned how to love deeply in a world that doesn't always make that easy. And maybe, just maybe, that's not something to judge at all. It's something to respect.